Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear secondary 1 students. Today's session, inshallah, will be on Unit 8. The title of the unit is Environmental Affairs. Let's begin with the new vocabulary. Torrential. Torrential, it's an adjective. It means very heavy rain. The noun is torrent. For example, the torrential rain caused the rivers to flood. The second word, rainfall. Rainfall. Rainfall means the amount of rain that falls on an area in a particular period of time. For example, the crops are dying in the fields because of the very low rainfall. Moisture. Moisture. Moisture means small amounts of water in the air or a substance, etc. The adjective is moist. Moist. For example, there is always a lot of moisture in the air in the mornings. Coastal. Coastal. Coastal is an adjective. It means next to the coast or next to the sea. The noun is coast. We live in a coastal area near a fishing village. Ecosystem. Ecosystem. Ecosystem means all the plants and the animals that live in the same place and their relationship. All the plants and animals that live in the same place and their relationship. For example, the ecosystem of this lake has been destroyed by pollution. Evaporation. Evaporation. Evaporation is a noun, which means when a liquid changes into a gas. When a liquid changes into a gas, this process is called evaporation. The verb is evaporate. For example, the simplest method of getting salt is through the evaporation of salt water. Meteorological. Meteorological. It's an adjective, which means to do with the weather. To do with the weather. The noun is meteorology, is a science itself, or meteorologist is a specialist, is a scientist that works in this field of science. For example, meteorological studies help us to understand weather patterns. The next word is cycle. It's a verb, which means to ride a bicycle, and the noun is cycling. For example, when I was young, I went to school by bus, but this year I cycled to school. Climate change. Climate change. Climate change means changes in the world's weather, particularly an increase in temperature thought to be caused by things such as carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. For example, the effects of climate change will have severe impacts on all of our lives. Drought. Drought. In this word, the GH is pronounced F. So drought is a noun which means a cold current of air. A cold current of air. The adjective is drafty. For example, please close the door as there is a draft in the room. Drought. Drought. Here, the GH is not pronounced. The man is voiceless. It's also a noun which means a long period of time without rain. Long period of time without rain. The crops all died because of the drought. The crops all died because of the drought. Global warming, it's a noun, means the rise in the Earth's temperature. The rise in the Earth's temperature. Okay? For example, global warming will cause the ice caps to melt and sea levels to rise. Emission. Emission. Emission, it's a noun which means the act of sending out light or heat or gas, etc. The verb is emit. The verb is emit. For example, the emission of fumes from cars causes a lot of pollution. Omission. Omission. Omission is a noun which means when you do not include or do not do something. The verb is omit. Omit. For example, the omission of the conclusion in your essay makes it incomplete. The omission of the conclusion, يعني not including the conclusion. Natural gas. Natural gas, it's also a noun which means gas found under the ground. For example, natural gas is used to heat many houses. Natural resource. Natural resource, it's also noun. Things like coal, oil, water, etc. that can be used by people. For example, our way of life depends on natural resources like oil and natural gas. Crude oil, crude oil, crude oil, oil in its natural state. Oil in its natural state. Crude oil cannot be used for fuel. It has to be refined first. Deforestation. Deforestation comes from forest. Forest. Deforestation is a noun which means destruction of the forests. For example, the deforestation of the Amazon will be a disaster for the whole world. Erosion. Erosion, it's a noun, which means the process by which rock or soil is gradually destroyed by wind or water. The verb is rude. Sorry, it's a mistake. It should be a verb. Okay? It's not a noun, it's a verb. Okay? The erosion of the hillsides means that trees cannot grow there anymore. Consume. Consume. Consume is a verb, which means use up. Use up. And the noun is consumption. For example, if we consume all the fossil fuels, we will have to find alternative sources of energy. If we consume all the fossil fuels, we'll have to find alternative sources of energy. Fossil fuels. Fossil fuels. Fuels such as gas, coal, and oil that were formed underground from plant and animal remains millions of years ago. For example, fossil fuels are the main causes of global warming. Solar energy. Solar energy. Solar is an adjective, comes from sun. Okay, so solar energy means energy that uses the power of the sun to produce electricity. For example, I want a car that runs on solar system. Agriculture. Agriculture, it's a noun, means the business, science, or activity of farming. For example, the countries Uh, for example, the country's economy depends on agriculture. The country's economy depends on agriculture. Bank, bank. Bank here means sloping raised land along the sides of a river or a lake. Okay, so bank means sloping raised land along the sides of a river or a lake. Means ضفة, not bank. Okay, these flowers generally grow on river banks and near streams. Current, current. Current means a continuous moving of water in the sea or a river. For example, a strong current swept the swimmer far from the shore. Delta, delta. It's also a noun. Delta, an area of land near the sea where a river splits into many smaller rivers. A lot of water birds live in the river delta. Okay. Downpour, downpour. It's also a noun which means heavy rainfall. For example, we got completely soaked in the downpour. Flames, flames. Flames is a noun, means a stream of hot burning gas from something on fire. For example, the flames grew larger as the fire spread. Gust, gust. It's also a noun which means a sudden strong movement of wind or rain. For example, strong gusts of wind made it hard to walk along the seafront. Habitat, habitat. It's a noun, means the natural place where an animal or plant lives. This spider's natural habitat is the desert. Now we come to the phrasal verbs. The first phrasal verb is block out. Block out. Block out means stop light from coming in. Stop light or sound from coming in. For example, she shaded her eyes to try to block out the bright sun. The second phrasal verb is blow over. Blow over. Blow over. Go away without serious effect. Go away without serious effect. The storm soon blew over and the sun came out again. Burst it into flames. Burst it into flames. We can use burst it into with flames and burst it into laughter and burst it into tears. So burst it into flames means suddenly started to burn with large flames. For example, the plane crashed and burst it into flames. Freeze over. Freeze over. Freeze over means when the surface of water turns into ice. This is freezing over. For example, last winter, the pond in our garden froze over. Wear away. Wear away. Wear away means to become gradually smaller and smoother. For example, the cliffs have been worn away by the sea. Wipe out. Wipe out. Wipe out, destroy completely. For example, many species have been wiped out by hunters. Now the word formation. Environment. The adverb is environmentally. Danger is a noun and endangered is an adjective. Biology is a noun, it's a science itself. Biological is an adjective. organ, noun, organisms, noun. Conserve, verb, conservation is a noun. Gene, noun, genetically, adverb. Fertile, adjective. Fertilizers, noun. Lead here is a noun. Unleaded is an adjective. Now we have some expressions with some of these word formations. For example, environmentally friendly means things that are environmentally friendly do not harm the environment. So if something is environmentally friendly, it means that it doesn't harm the environment. For example, a more environmentally friendly car tire has been investigated by Dutch researchers. Endangered species. Endangered species means species that may soon no longer exist. For example, the giant panda is an endangered species. Conserve. Conserve. Use as little water, energy, etc. as possible, so as not to waste it. Conservation is the noun. We need to conserve water because there is not enough of it. Genetically modified crops. Crops that have had its DNA changed by genetic engineering. For example, do you think genetically modified food might affect our health? Chemical fertilizers. Chemical fertilizers means a fertilizer consisting of chemical or chemicals. Pollution of water resources caused by the overuse of pesticides and chemical fertilizers. Unleaded petrol. Unleaded petrol. Unleaded petrol, gasoline that hasn't been treated with a lead compound. For example, my car runs on unleaded petrol. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.